Hi, in today's video, we are going to study about another feature transformation technique, that is feature extraction. Feature extraction is basically performed using three different methods. We can use any of them and we will try to cover each method in detail by a separate video. So in today's video, we will completely focus on first technique, that is nothing but principal component analysis. So let us start with what is feature extraction. In feature extraction, we create new features from combination of original features. So we will try to cover some set of features and produces or replace that feature by new feature. So here commonly used operators to produce new features to perform feature extraction are, if we have, say for example, Boolean features, we can perform conjunction, which is nothing but performing an AND operation, a disjunction, which is performance of a OR operation, and negation, which is nothing but a NOT operation among them. Say for example, I have a feature A, I have feature B, I have feature C and feature D. So I can convert or I can extract some set of features, say for example feature dash A and feature dash B. And this feature A is calculated as feature A and feature D, for example. And this new feature B can be calculated as feature B or feature C, say for example. Or I can have feature A and feature B, or not of feature D and feature C. So this is nothing but some example where we combine some set of features, original features, and produce some new features, if F dash C. So this is nothing but a simple example of how Boolean features can get combined. Likewise, we can combine nominal features. Now, while working with nominal feature, we can do Cartesian product. We can find out only m out of n attributes or only m out of n features at a given time. And within numerical attribute, we can perform minimum of, maximum of, addition of, subtraction, multiplication of any two attributes or features, or more than two attributes of a feature to find out, and we can compare as an equality or inequality based on to extract some new features. Say for example, in our housing example, we have feature called as length of an apartment, and we had another feature called as width or breadth of an apartment. Okay, now I can create a new feature called as feature area by removing these two and generating this extracting new feature with feature called as length multiplied with feature called as width. Okay, so I have performed multiplication because my length and breadth are of type numerical feature. So here I have applied an operation called as multiplication. So we are creating new feature from an existing feature is called as feature extraction. Formally, we define feature extraction is a process where we have set of features f with feature f1, f2 up to fn. So total n attributes or n features are there, and there is a function f which is called as mapping function. Now this mapping function will translate our n feature space into f feature space. So new set of feature is called as f dash, and here we will have all new attributes f1 dash, f2 dash up to f dash m. Now as you can see, originally there were n attributes and now new feature space is having m attributes, and it is always that our new feature space is having lesser attributes than our original feature space. So that kind of operation or mapping function is called as feature extraction process. Let us understand this feature extraction with the help of one example. As you can see, there are a set of four features, feature A, feature B, C and D. And new feature space is only consisting of two features, feature 1 and 2. And here you can see all features are numerical. and obviously the new feature space is also having numerical real values in it. So how these values are getting produced? So feature 1 is performed as 0.3 of feature A plus 0.9 of feature A. So this feature is extracted from feature A itself, and the feature B is extracted from feature A, C and D. Okay, so how they are getting selected? We have selected feature A completely plus 0.5 of feature B plus 0.6 of feature C, and we have completely ignored feature D because it might have that they are irrelevant to the feature space, or it might have that it is an output variable and we do not require them in our feature space. So we are eliminating one feature and we are producing two new different features from our existing feature A, B and C respectively. Okay, so this is just an example from where these values come from, where their formula comes is a completely application and data set dependent decision. There are no hard-coded formulas that these two values must get added and they get multiplied with so and so value. No, it is not that. These are the findings that are made by data scientists. They find the relationship among them and they produce or they extract an information which is consumed in our original data set. Now let us start with our first technique of feature extraction, which is called as principal component analysis or simply PCA. So here we have a data set with multiple features, and it might have some features are dependent on each other or they are similar to each other. Say for example, height of a person and weight of a person. If height of a person increases, obviously weight of a person increases. Similarly, if height of a person decreases, it is that expected that weight of a person also decreases. So height and weight are two different features which have some similarity among them. In PCA, we find set of only those features which are extracted from our original feature which are dissimilar in nature. That means they are not dependent in each other. They are not resembling same information, same data about given data set. Okay, so in PCA we have n-dimensional feature space which gets transformed into k-dimensional feature space. Obviously, our original dimensions are greater than the new dimensions, where these dimensions, these k dimensions are independent to each other. So while talking independent dimensions in our coordinate system, we say these dimensions are orthogonal to each other. That is nothing but another way of saying dimensions are independent of each other or dimensions are showing values which are dissimilar. Let us understand PCA first with the help of one example. This example I will first demonstrate you graphically and then we will look into the mathematical steps or actual steps of PCA. So let me demonstrate this example diagrammatically to you so you can visualize how dimensions are getting transformed. Here in this example, I will transform two dimensions only to two dimensions. But originally, the data is having n dimensions is getting transferred into k dimension. Let us start by understanding the given data set. Now this data set is nothing but an observation made over the 6 mouse and they have been observed for gene 1 and gene 2. Obviously, genes are not only 2, we can have n numbers of genes, but just to understand the concept of PCA, I have here only selected 2 genes. Okay, and the value of gene 1 in mouse 1 is 10 and value of gene 2 in mouse 1 is 6. Likewise, mouse 2 is having gene 1 as 11 and gene 2 value as 4. Mouse 3 is having gene value 1 as 8 and gene 2 value and 5 and so on. So while we represent this data diagrammatically or over the coordinate system, I will first try to visualize gene 1. So if we only consider gene 1, we can plot these data points or these numbers or 6 mouse data points over a single line. So we create one axis. This axis is a simple horizontal axis and I call this axis as gene 1 axis. So gene 1 is nothing but one of the attribute. So it is nothing but my one feature. So first feature is over the x-axis. And I will plot these data points or these observations of mouse over the axis. So over this axis, mouse 1 is having gene value as 10. So at scale number 10, at data point 10, we have mouse 1. Likewise at gene 11, for gene 1 value 11 is there for mouse 2. So for data point 2, mouse number 2, we have plotted it at 11th location. Likewise, we have plotted 6 data points which are representing 6 different mouse. We can identify that mouse 1, 2 and 3 are having high value of gene 1 and mouse 4, 5, 6 are having low value of gene 1. So we can easily identify the grouping among them. We can identify the set of mouse are having same type of gene. Now let us plot or let us consider two features. So I will have 2D graph. One axis will represent first gene and another axis represent another feature, that is gene number 2. And we will try to plot each mouse or each data in a given data set with their respective value of gene 1 and gene 2. Say for example, this is my data point, okay, and for data point 1, that is nothing but mouse 1, gene value is 10 and gene 2 value is 6. Say for example, this is 10 and this is 6. So I will have a data point at this which is representing mouse 1. I will simply write 1. Likewise, I have mouse 2 with an observation value 10 and 4. Say for example, this is 10 and this is 4. So I will have another data point that I will call it as data point on mouse observation number 2. And I have 8 and 5. Say this is 8 and this is 5. So I have third observation over here. Likewise, I will plot each and every observation of given data set. So my graph will look like something like this. Data points 1, 2 and 3 are grouped together and data points 4, 5 and 6 are again grouped together, that is they are close to each other. In this case, as you can see, these elements are biased because 1, 2 and 3 samples are grouped together biased towards the left and 4, 5 and 6 samples are biased towards the low gene value and low gene 1 and 2 values. So this should not happen in the data. We must find out independent axis. Gene 1 and gene 2 values are dependent over each other in some way. So that ratio I don't know, but I can easily figure out that there is some correlation between gene 1 and gene 2. Okay, so I need to find out two different dimensions which are independent of each other, in which these dimensions are not correlated with each other. We do it with the help of principal component analysis. Now, first step of principal component analysis is to find the mean of gene 1. Now, how to calculate mean of gene 1? We take all these values, we sum up them and we divide it by 6. So that whatever the value we get, we plot it over gene 1. Likewise, we calculate mean of gene 2. Okay, so gene 1 mean and gene 2 mean is being indicated by this particular observation. So after this, we do not require the data set because we will only work with graph. Kindly give attention to the graph only. Now we will shift our center of observation into an origin. So I need to collide this x, green x, with our origin 0, 0. So let us do that. Okay, all data points along with center of data point is now shifted to our origin. Now you must observe that this shifting did not change the relative order of data points. So data points are relative in nature, their values are maintained, their relationships are maintained among them. We have not changed that relationship. Okay, now we will put a simple random line. This random line must get passed from an origin, because at origin we have center of data point. Okay, so we will draw a random line which may pass from center of data point, and we will try to rotate this line in such a that way that this line covers the data points well. So we say that line is fitting to data points. So we will keep on rotating this line unless and until I find the best fit line. Now why I say this line is best fitted? As you can see, this line is also covering the data, but best fit line is calculated as, if I consider this particular line, the distance that you get from data point to line is minimum, okay, as compared to other line. If I consider, say for example, this line, the distance from this data point to this line, if I add up all those distances, this value will be bigger as compared to the sum of distances. This distance, this distance, this distance, this and this distance. We project all the data points over the line perpendicularly. So as you can see, the data points are perpendicular to line. We will plot or project a new data point. So these blue crosses are nothing but projected data points. The distance from origin to this projected data point 1 is called as distance 1. Likewise, distance from center to second projected data point is called as distance 2. And likewise, we have distance 3, which is nothing but distance from origin to the projected data point 3. Likewise, we have distance 4, 5 and 6. So in total we have 6 data points. That's why we have 6 distances. What do we do with these distances? We square these distances and we add them. So squared addition of set of data set distances is called as sum of squared distance. And the line that we have fit, which is best fitting our data, is called as principal component 1, or our first principal axis. We called it as PC1. And as you can see, this principal axis is having slope of 0.25. That means we say that data is spread over the x-axis 4 times as compared to y-axis. So as you can see, the data is spread 4 times across x-axis as compared to 1 time over the y-axis. So this ratio is 4:1. As you can see, data is not evenly distributed. We want a data which is spread across our x-axis and y-axis uniformly. And that spread can be achieved using principal component analysis. So what is an eigenvalue of PC1? Eigenvalue of PC1 is nothing but sum of squared distances. And what is singular of PC1 value? It is square root of eigen1 value. In next step, we need to find out second principal component. Now to find out second principal component or an axis which is called as PC2, principal component number 2, we need to identify an axis which is an orthogonal to our PC1. So we will find out an axis which is perpendicular to PC1 axis. So any axis which is perpendicular to PC1 is called as PC2 axis simply. We have to project all these data points perpendicularly over PC2. So projection of data point 1, this is projection of data point 4, projection of data point 5, data point 6, data point 3 and data point 2. So all these data points are projected perpendicularly, as you can see. Obviously, this particular line will also have the sum of squared distances. That is, we will square each of these distances and we will add all those distances and we get something called as eigenvalue for principal component 2. and singular value for PC2 is nothing but square root of eigenvalue of PC2. So this is how we have identified two different principal components. Now we do not require our old coordinate system. That is, we do not require an axis called as gene1. Also, we do not require an axis called as gene2. We will simply work for our new axis, that is newly found axis as PC1 and PC2. We will rotate these axes in such a way that we may look at these points clearly. So we will rotate these axes unless and until we will able to have view at these projected points clearly. Now they are clearly rotated and we have new set of axes. We will map points. Say for example, these two crosses are nothing but an example of data point 1. Another two points are plotting these 2 points. Okay, so these highlighted points are an example of data point 2. Likewise, we have set of data points. So we have projected all data points. We need to find out the variance of PC1 and variance of PC2. Variance of PC1 is nothing but eigenvalue, which is nothing but sum of square distances. Distance 1 square, distance 2 square, up to if we have n data points, distance n square, divided by n minus 1. So that is nothing but variance of PC1. Likewise, we have eigenvalue for PC2 as nothing but distance square with second principal component axis. Okay, so n points and their square sum divided by n minus 1 is nothing but variance of PC2, and that is nothing but giving us an information contained in each axis. How much information is there in axis PC1 and how much information is there in axis PC2. Say for example, variance of principal component 1 I have calculated to 15. How they are calculated, that is complete math. We are not going to look into detail of that. Just look into the values and what are the deductions made from these values. Variance of PC2 is, say for example, 3. So total variations around both principal components is 15 plus 3, that is equal to 18 units. Okay, and principal component 1 accounts for how much variations? So out of 18, 15 units are covered by variance of PC1, that is nothing but 83. So 83% of variations are covered by principal component 1. Remaining 17% of variations are covered by principal component number 2. That is nothing but 3 out of 18, that is 0.17. So with the help of principal component, we can transform n-dimensional data. As we have seen in our mouse example, we have total 6 observation. We had only feature 1, that is nothing but gene 1 and gene 2. I may have your set of gene 3 up to gene n. So obviously for us it is very easy to draw two-dimensional space. Even it is easier to draw and visualize three-dimensional space, but assume if my features are n, how am I going to represent data over n-dimensional space? So whatever the process that we have seen graphically is actually performed in real life mathematically. Okay, so the complete process of plotting data points, finding their data center point, shifting your data center and data points around origin, then finding a line, rotating it and putting all those newly plotted points, finding their variance, all these are mathematical stuff and they can get carried out easily with the help of maths of statistics and mathematics of matrices. So that is what we do it in PCA by using machine learning. So what do? We calculate, in a first step, we calculate something called as covariance matrix of data set, which gives us covariance of xy, covariance of x and covariance of y. I can give you the signature of covariance matrix. We can have covariance of x, we can have covariance of y, and this is the covariance of xy. Okay, so this is an example of if I have only two features x and y. if I have three features x, y and z, my covariance will look like this. This is covariance of x, this is covariance of y and this is covariance of z. And this will be the covariance of xy, this will be the covariance of xz, this will be the covariance of yx, this will be the covariance of yz, this will be the covariance of zx, this will be the covariance of zy. Okay, so as you can see over the diagonal, values are nothing but covariance of all different features, that is feature x, feature y and feature z, and these matrices is mirrored over the diagonal. That means upper triangular matrix is equivalent to lower triangular matrix because covariance of xy is equivalent to covariance of yx. Okay, so if I have n dimensions, say x, y, z up to n, we can have a covariance matrix that is of size n cross n, and over the diagonal we will have covariance over the all feature component. So first step is to calculate this covariance matrix from data set. Okay, so for a given data set, using those values we create a covariance matrix. All these mathematical statistical softwares do have their set of libraries. So by calling a single library or writing a single line of code, we can we can generate covariance matrix by giving an input data set. So it is quite easy to perform while we are performing it practically, but the method has to be understood theoretically, so you know when to perform what and in what situation you need to do what. So coming back to our PCA method, first step is to generate or to calculate covariance matrix for a given data set. Second, we create or we calculate eigenvalues of covariance matrix. Now, how to calculate these eigenvalues? So, to calculate these eigenvalues, we have something called as SVD, singular value decomposition, which is a separate technique. We will cover it in a separate lecture where we give an input matrix A and it will generate three different matrices. We call it as U, sigma and V transpose. It is a property of this matrix that whatever the value we get over the first diagonal value is having the highest variance. That means the most of the information is contained in this first principal component. This will be our principal component 2. That means this value will be always lesser than the first one and will be greater than the later on values. So this is the characteristic how they are getting produced. All these values will be ascending in order. You need to identify how many principal components you need to represent your data with. Say for example, your data is having n dimension and this particular matrix is also having n dimension. But not all values are very big. Say for example, here 80% data is there, here 15% of data is there, here 3%, 1.5%, 0.8% data is there. So we have to take decision that I don't want any data which is having lesser than 3% on it. Okay, so information contained inside the data, if it is lesser than 3%, we are going to ignore those features. So we are only ending up having 3 features. So from n dimension, we have deduced that my data will be only having 3 feature space. So that is what nothing but we are selecting an eigenvalue which represents highest variance. That is nothing but the topmost diagonal value. That is called as principal component 1. So eigen having the next value represents principal component 2, that is nothing but this value. So likewise we will only identify top k eigenvalues which are representing k principal components. And with the help of data transformation technique and statistical method, we transform our data space from n features to k features. That is what principal component analysis is. Now, what are the important objective of principal component analysis? Whatever the features that are identified by PCA, because we have originally n features and we have reduced it to k features, all these k features are independent of each other. Now, what do we mean by independent of each other? They give us dissimilar information. Second objective of PCA is that PCs are, that is principal components are generally order of variability in data that captures. Principal component 1 always captures the highest amount of information as compared to the last PC, principal component K. And the last point is the sum of variance of principal component should be equal to the sum of variance of original component. That is all for today. In today's video, we have seen what is feature extraction. We have seen diagrammatically how principal component analysis works, and at the end we have seen the steps of principal component. Thank you everyone for watching this video. This is Munira Topia signing out.